In the skies above Skyros, thousands of residents have recently reported a mysterious phenomenon. Beginning on the 11th of August, 2025, and lasting for a period of 4 days, mysterious light apparitions appeared above the region, captivating and bewildering all who witnessed them. What made these events particularly striking was the form that these luminous apparitions took. Witnesses across the island consistently described the shapes as distinctly humanoid, glowing with a radiant, almost ethereal light. The sightings occurred during all times of the day, from the brightness of mid-morning to the dim glow of twilight. Several eyewitnesses were quick to capture photographs, which have since been widely shared across local Facebook groups dedicated to unexplained phenomena. Although the images are grainy, they leave little room for doubt regarding the striking human-like form in the sky. In some photographs, the figure appeared to be surrounded by a rainbow-like aura, while in others, it seemed to be rising directly from the clouds. Observers described the apparitions as floating several meters above the ground, moving slowly and gracefully before fading away into the sky. For the people of Skyros, an island steeped in deep-rooted Orthodox Christian tradition, the apparitions were immediately interpreted as divine signs. The island is home to several monasteries and churches dedicated to revered saints, and religious celebrations form an essential part of local life. The luminous figure was quickly compared to angelic visitations described in Christian history, as well as to the visions of saints that have been recorded across centuries. Local priests, spiritual leaders, and residents alike declared the sightings as miraculous, suggesting that the apparitions were sent from the heavens as a reminder of faith and devotion. Many who were present during the sightings spoke of the overwhelming peace and calm that washed over them in the figure's presence. Some individuals claimed to feel an inexplicable warmth in their hearts, while others described sensations of healing or joy. A few witnesses even reported that the glowing entity seemed to gesture in blessing, further strengthening the belief that this was not just an atmospheric illusion, but a sacred vision. Religious figures on the island suggested connections to saints such as St. George, long revered as a protector of the Greek people. Others drew parallels to Christophanies, or appearances of divine figures, echoing moments of sacred visitation in Christian theology. Beyond religious interpretations, the event carried profound cultural significance for the residents of Skyros. Generations of islanders have grown up with stories of miracles and holy apparitions, and these new sightings reaffirmed their deep sense of spiritual belonging. Families gathered together to pray beneath the glowing forms in the sky, believing they were in the presence of something divine. For many, the apparitions came at a time when the world feels increasingly uncertain, offering hope, reassurance, and a reminder that they were being watched over. The broader Greek community has also taken note of the events, with national and international attention beginning to focus on Skyros. While skeptics have attempted to attribute the apparitions to atmospheric phenomena, such as ice crystals reflecting sunlight, or optical illusions created by light diffraction, those who were there insist the experience went far beyond what science alone can explain. The consistency of eyewitness accounts, coupled with the clarity of the photographs, has only deepened the belief that what occurred over those 4 days was no ordinary natural event. Adding further intrigue is the timing of the apparitions. They began on the 11th of August, a date that falls near the feast of the Dormition of the Virgin Mary on the 15th of August, one of the most significant celebrations in the Orthodox Christian calendar. For many on Skyros, the apparitions were understood as a sacred sign tied to this holy occasion, a reminder of divine presence during a time of reflection, prayer, and devotion. The idea that the heavens themselves might have offered a visible sign only reinforced the already deep faith of the islanders. The apparitions in Skyros also fit into a broader historical context of religious visions throughout Greece and beyond. In Tinos, for instance, the Virgin Mary is believed to have appeared to Sister Pelagia in the 19th century, leading to the discovery of the icon of Panagia Evangelistria, now one of the most important pilgrimage sites in the country. In Fatima, Portugal, in 1917, thousands of people reported seeing the sun dance in the sky, following visions of the Virgin Mary to 3 shepherd children. These moments share striking similarities with the Skyros phenomenon. They occurred publicly, were witnessed by large groups of people, and carried profound spiritual messages for those present. For the faithful, such apparitions are not coincidences, but messages, signs that humanity is being reminded of the presence of the divine. In this light, the glowing humanoid figures in the Skyros sky were interpreted as not only miracles, but also calls to return to faith and spiritual reflection in a rapidly changing world. At the same time, the Skyros sightings resonate with the modern era in unique ways. Unlike historical apparitions that relied on personal testimonies, these events were captured in real time through smartphones and shared instantly across social media. The immediacy of the photographs and the flood of digital eyewitness accounts created a wave of collective validation. For many, the fact that multiple individuals captured similar images from different parts of the island provided compelling evidence that the event could not be dismissed as imagination or misperception. Interestingly, some researchers outside the religious community have raised questions about whether such apparitions might also intersect with phenomena often described as unidentified aerial events. The luminous humanoid form, surrounded by radiant light, shares similarities with descriptions of otherworldly encounters reported across the globe. To those who study unexplained aerial phenomena, the Skyros apparitions might represent something far more mysterious than purely religious visions, suggesting the possibility of multidimensional beings or advanced forms of consciousness interacting with humanity. Still, for the islanders, the explanation remains rooted in their faith. The stories of individuals who felt healing, emotional relief, or profound joy during the sightings only reinforced the conviction that this was an extraordinary moment of divine contact. Local priests encouraged the faithful to interpret the visions as blessings and opportunities to deepen their spiritual lives. Candlelight vigils were held in churches across the island in the days following the events, and many residents continue to pray for further guidance from the heavens. What remains most remarkable about these apparitions is their shared impact on the community. Thousands of people across Skyros, regardless of age or background, experienced the event together, creating a collective memory that will no doubt be passed down for generations. The figures in the sky became symbols of unity, faith, and wonder, bridging the gap between ancient tradition and modern life. Miracle of the Sun in Fatima. On the 13th of October, in the year 1917, in the small rural town of Fatima, Portugal, tens of thousands of people gathered to witness what would become one of the most extraordinary events in modern religious history. Known today as the Miracle of the Sun, this extraordinary phenomenon left a permanent mark not only on Catholic faith, but also on the collective imagination of the 20th century. Those present that day did not simply see the sun shining in the sky as it always does. Instead, they described a vision so dramatic, so otherworldly, that it transformed an entire nation's belief and reaffirmed faith at a time when atheism was spreading across Europe. The background of this miracle begins months earlier, when 3 shepherd children, Lucia dos Santos and her cousins Francisco and Jacinta Mato, claimed to have received a series of visitations from the Virgin Mary. The children said that Mary spoke to them about repentance, prayer, and the need for humanity to turn back to God. These visions reportedly began in May of 1917 and recurred each month, always on the 13th day. As word spread, crowds began to follow the children, eager to see the apparitions for themselves. By October, anticipation had reached a fever pitch. The Virgin Mary was said to have promised the children that on the 13th of October she would deliver a miracle so that all would believe. On the day itself, the weather was miserable. Rain had turned the ground into a sea of mud, soaking the crowds that had gathered in expectation. Eyewitnesses estimated that between 30,000 and 70,000 people were present, including believers, skeptics, reporters, and photographers. The atmosphere was tense, filled with both hope and doubt. At around noon, the skies began to shift. According to witnesses, the rain stopped abruptly, and the clouds parted to reveal the sun as a glowing disk, unlike anything seen before. The sun, usually too bright to look at directly, appeared dimmer, a grey-white disk surrounded by a strange radiance. Witnesses reported that it began to spin, whirling in the sky like a great wheel of fire. Some said it cast brilliant colours across the landscape, bathing the world in shades of yellow, red, blue, and violet. Others claimed the sun appeared to tremble or dance, as though it were alive. The spectacle lasted for several minutes, astonishing the crowd. At one point, many reported that the sun seemed to break free of its usual position, plunging toward the earth in a terrifying zigzag motion. People screamed, fell to their knees, and cried out in prayer, convinced that the end of the world was at hand. Some confessed their sins openly, while others begged for forgiveness. And then, just as suddenly, the sun returned to its rightful place in the sky. Yet the miracle did not end there. Witnesses testified that although the ground had been soaked with rain only minutes earlier, it was now dry. Their clothes, drenched from hours of waiting in the downpour, were suddenly clean and warm, as though no storm had ever passed through. For those present, this was undeniable proof of divine intervention. The accounts of the event varied in detail, as might be expected when so many people experienced something extraordinary. Some said they saw the sun spin like a wheel, others said it emitted rays of colour, and still others said the entire atmosphere seemed to shift hues. A number of people claimed they saw a violet or amethyst tint cast over everything around them. Despite these variations, the overwhelming consensus was that something miraculous had occurred, something that could not be explained by natural means. What made the miracle of the sun so significant was not only the event itself, but also its timing and its effect on the people. Portugal at the time was in the grip of political upheaval, and secularism was on the rise. Faith for many was waning. Yet this spectacle reignited religious devotion, silencing skeptics and inspiring believers. For many, it was seen as proof that the Virgin Mary had intervened to remind humanity of God's presence and power. Reporters who had been dispatched to cover the event wrote about it in local newspapers. Photographers captured images of the enormous crowds gathered at Fatima, their faces lifted to the heavens in awe. While the photographs did not capture the sun's movements directly, the sheer number of witnesses made it impossible to dismiss as fantasy. The miracle was not confined to the faithful alone. Skeptics, including atheists and secular journalists, also reported witnessing unusual phenomena that day, lending further credibility to the event. In the years that followed, the miracle of the sun became central to the story of Fatima and the message given to the 3 shepherd children. The Catholic Church conducted investigations and, decades later, formally recognized the miracle as authentic. Pilgrims began to flock to Fatima in their millions, and the town transformed into one of the most important Marian shrines in the world.